Oh, thank you. My name is Jim Gordon. I'm one of the pastors here at Pine Ridge, and we want to welcome back the Northland Symphony Orchestra for their 7th, 8th, 22nd, 75th time. I don't know how many. It's been a lot. It's been a great relationship over the years. And they have a particularly special program for you planned this evening with special guests. And there are a lot of people here supporting them, which is great to see. Which reminded me of a trivia question. And, do we have any movie trivia folks here? Yeah, okay. Humor me. Okay, this is going back. This is old movie trivia. In 1935, the Marx Brothers made a movie, and it's the first one without Zeppo. Can anybody tell me the name of that movie? It's A Night at the Opera, which has nothing to do with this at all, except the title of this program is An Evening at the Opera. So without further ado, let us welcome James Murray III, who's been directing this orchestra for 25 years. Let's give him a nice hand as he comes in.
Well, good evening, everyone, and thank you so much for joining us for our concert this evening. You're joining us for our evening of opera, and so we have many offerings for you tonight. And before we begin, I wanted to share with you just a little bit about opera so that you know what you're getting into. And then I'll give you a little bit of information about the aria that you're about to hear, and then we'll have our singers sing it. And you'll know what's going on. So when we talk about opera, which is this great entertainment that combines drama and song and music and often sometimes dance, there are several components that go into this art form. First is an overture, then we also have recitatives and arias, we have ensembles, and then of course the libretto, which is the text or the story or the play or the original story that the opera is based off of. And tonight you're going to get to experience all of that. So an overture starts operas, and it has one main purpose. It is to set the mood for what's to follow, and it does that often by using some melodies that you will hear later on in the production. You will also hear lovely arias tonight, which is the moment when the singer reacts emotionally to something that has happened. We do have a few recitatives this evening that will introduce the arias, which is where a plot advancement takes place. And then we have a couple duets as well that check off the ensemble moment in these pieces. So you can see I brought a script with me, and that's because, to be honest, some of these operas are really complicated, even in their pared down version. And we do have, this is opera folks, so we have a lot of love. Yay, Valentine's Day, great. We have a lot of conflict, and and then there may be some death, but we'll get to that. So we're going to start off with an overture by Haydn called Armida, and this was premiered in 1788, and it was in the court of the Esterhazy family. Most of you probably know the Esterhazys were Haydn's chief patron, and Armida remains Haydn's most performed and loved opera today. The story, which was set several times by lots of different composers over the years, follows the hero Rinaldo, who is a Christian soldier in the First Crusade. And he has fallen under the spell of Armida, an enchantress sent by the Prince of Darkness to kill Rinaldo and stop that crusade. Well, Armida casts a spell over Rinaldo, causing him to fall in love with her, so that she could bring him close and, of course, kill him. However, I think you know where this is going, she falls in love with him, and she cannot bring herself to kill him. And so this overture is very typical for overtures of this period. It's in 3 sections. The 2 outer sections are quite brisk. They are not exactly music from the opera, but it certainly foreshadows what's to come. And then the middle section, the contrasting slow, beautiful section, actually is directly drawn from Act 3. from a very important moment between Rinaldo and Armida. So here is Haydn's Overture to Armida. For our next selection, we're going to feature an aria by the composer Donizetti. His opera Don Sébastien was first performed in 1843 and was Donizetti's final opera. And it is, here's the list, it is fraught with drama and action surrounding the Spanish Inquisition, crusades, love, and death. It was criticized, this is a great one, it was criticized as a funeral in 5 acts. And the historical fiction plot follows the 16th century story of King Sebastian of Portugal and his crusade in Morocco in 1578. After Sebastian leaves on the crusade, the High Inquisitor attempts to overthrow him in his absence. In the meantime, Sebastian finds himself in love with a Moorish princess, Zeta, who he saved from burning at the stake at a monastery, as one does. Their love is in peril because Zeta is betrothed to a Moorish chief who she does not want to marry. Her chief and Sebastian get in a battle, but the chief defeats Sebastian in battle, so when she agrees to marry the chief, she demands that he spares the life of one wounded soldier. Any guesses? Sebastian, right? After that happens, this is such a long opera, just kind of fill in the blank. After that happens, they get together and they go to Lisbon. So Sebastian and Zeta make it to Portugal. This is great, right? No. When he gets to Portugal, the High Inquisitor recognizes him, quickly puts him in jail because he doesn't want to give up being king, and Sebastian ultimately has to abdicate the throne. All right. Zeta, his true love, tries to help him escape, and they're both killed in the process, which leads to a very unfortunate end to this opera. Funeral in 5 acts. This aria is known as Zeta's aria, and it is from Act 2, where Zeta confesses her newfound love for Sebastian. Please welcome our soloistress, Rachel Barg. Next, we're going to hear two pieces from Mozart's opera Don Giovanni. Mozart's Don Giovanni we generally classify opera as serious or comic, and it's kind of in between. It's an opera buffa. It has very serious themes that run throughout it, but certainly has comic elements. And it tells the story of Don Giovanni. There's lots of ways to describe him. We'll go with quite a promiscuous nobleman who woos and irritates and pretty much outrages everyone who knows him, and he is thrilled with that. In the end, however, Don Giovanni does meet a character that he can do nothing to conquer, and thus finds his destruction in a final ensuing scene that involves a dramatic descent into hell due to his lifelong immorality. This opera premiered in 1787 with Mozart himself on the conductor's podium, and Don Giovanni received praise from audiences and critics alike at its premiere, very similar to many of Mozart's operas. So we have two arias, an aria and a duet from Don Giovanni, and the first one, Dalla, which we're about to hear, is from Act 1, and it is sung by Don Ottavio. And Don Ottavio is truly an upright character in this story. And here he is singing of his devotion to his love, Donna Anna, in contrast to Don Giovanni's general promiscuous. Please welcome our soloist, Nysio Puulakos. The next piece is sung earlier in Act 1 in Don Giovanni. This is one of my favorite duets in all of opera, and I'll tell you why here in a minute. Don Giovanni, in his travels, meets a young peasant woman named Zerlina. And Zerlina is engaged to another peasant, Mezzo-Soprano. Don Giovanni is immediately enraptured with Zerlina's loveliness and very generously offers to host the wedding of Zerlina and Mezzo-Soprano, all as a guise to simply have an opportunity to seduce or woo Zerlina. Mezzo-Soprano is called away, and Don Giovanni finds himself alone with Zerlina, and that's when this piece of music happens. And this song is Don Giovanni's attempt to seduce or woo Zerlina. And what I love about the way Mozart structures this, and which you hopefully will hear and appreciate, is since this is a duet, first Don Giovanni makes his case, and then Zerlina kind of thinks out to herself, I don't know about this. Don Giovanni makes his case, Zerlina has the same type of moment. But as Zerlina starts to relent, the phrases get shorter, right? And then, as she relents even more, they start to overlap. So you can actually see musically what is going on in her mind. And then, spoiler, at the end, they sing together when she decides to go ahead and go with him and do that. Now, in case you're worried about Zerlina, don't be. Because right at the end of this lovely moment, I'll just put it this way, one of Don Giovanni's ex-girlfriends shows up, grabs Zerlina by her arm, drags her away, and warns her about the gentleman that she just encountered. Please welcome our soloists for this, Leanna Crenshaw and Jacob DeSett.
La ci darem
For our final piece before intermission, we shift to Rossini from the very popular Barber of Seville. And this is also a duet. The overarching musical themes of Rossini's Barbers of Seville is all about memorable melodies. Most of you know this overture, you know these arias, even just from movies and TV shows. The opera tells the story of the hilarious story, it's a comic opera, of a barber named Figaro, who helps Count Almaviva save his love Rosina from her lecherous guardian Bartolo, who also wishes to marry her. The aria we hear now is a duet between Figaro and Rosina in Act 1. The Almaviva has disguised himself as a lowly student named Lindoro, which the character Rosina has fallen in love with. Upstairs, Bartolo plots to marry Rosina and do away with Almaviva by spreading false rumors about him. As Bartolo exits the stage, Figaro, who is Almaviva's friend, heard the plotting and encourages Rosina to continue to pursue Lindoro. And she, though bashful about her feelings, sings with Figaro about the letter she has already written to Lindoro. Listen for the numerous vocal acrobats from both singers, which are very typical traits of comic opera of this era. Please welcome back Rachel Barg and Louis Tiemann.
Dunque io son
We're going to start the second half with a piece for strings, and in a way this fulfills another component or something that you experience in opera quite a bit. This kind of fills the place of an intermezzo, which very often takes place after intermission. This is the Chrysanthemums by Puccini, and it's a lovely work. Puccini, late Romantic period composer, known for a lot of operas that showcase the Barissimo style, and the Barissimo style featured intense realism for the plot, and many of the operas you know from Puccini, La Bohème, and Turandot, and Madame Butterfly, all characterize these operatic trademarks of beautiful arias, dramatic yet realistic storylines. He believed that he only really had talent for music in the theater, and I think this piece we're going to play for you will prove that wrong. It's arguably underrated, purely instrumental side of Puccini. But I also wanted to make sure that if I was doing an opera program, that we would include Puccini. And this piece was written originally, he wrote it in one night, and he wrote it for an elegy in memorial or in memory of a dear, dear friend of his. And that was the origin of this piece of music. But he loved music so much that he worked it into his opera. He worked it into Mano Lascaux. And 3 years after he wrote this piece, he put it in that opera in 1893. Our next piece is by the French composer Bizet, and generally when you hear the word Bizet and opera, you think Carmen. Oops. This is the Pearl Fishers. This is one of Bizet's earlier operas, although many people say that the Pearl Fishers anticipate the success of Carmen later in his career. The Pearl Fishers is set in ancient times. It is set in Ceylon, which is now Sri Lanka, and it is in a small village where the primary activity is diving and fishing and getting pearls. The opera's plot really centers on two men, Nadir and Zerga, who have sworn eternal friendship to each other. However, their friendship is strained by their love for the same woman, Layla, who has, in fact, fallen in love with Nadir. Her own personal dilemma is, while she loves Nadir, she is unable to continue loving him due to her oath as a high priestess of Brahma. This aria that we're about to hear appears in Act 2 after Layla has been caught with Nadir by the high priest, who has threatened Layla with execution because she has broken her sacred vows. The high priest leaves her alone to consider her situation, and she, though terrified of what the future may hold, sings this aria in loving remembrance of her times with Nadir. Please welcome back Leanna Crenshaw. Our next selection is from the composer Lalo, and it is from the opera that translates into The King of Wise, and Wise is actually a city. The King of Wise is a much forgotten opera by Lalo, and even though it was very well received in its first performance in 1888. The story is set in the Middle Ages, and at the legendary city of Wise, the king's daughter, Margaret, is pledged to be married to the king's bitter rival, Carmack. However, Margaret is in love with another, Melio, who is thought to be dead. Trouble ensues when Melio returns to the city, who he is not dead indeed. Trouble, so when he comes back to the city, the king's younger daughter, Rosanne, is also in love with Melio. Margaret refuses to marry Carmack, and the battle follows. Carmack plots to open the floodgates and destroy the entire city. Melio, after marrying Rosanne, much to Margaret's despair, manages to kill Carmack, but not in time to save the city from a disastrous flood. Margaret throws herself into the sea, appeasing the saints and saving a few remaining survivors of the city. This aria is sung by Melio in Act 3, where he convinces Rosanne to go through with the wedding between the two of them. Aside from the overture, this aria is the most well-known selection from this opera by Lalo, not surprisingly, due to the really stunning melodic material for the tenor. Please welcome once again, Nysio Puulakos. theme. French composer Theo Delibes' Lakmé was first premiered in 1883 at the height of the popularity of exoticism in opera. Audiences loved the idea of foreign and interesting cultures portrayed on the stage, and Lakmé is a perfect example of this. The story is set in 19th century India, when India was under British rule. Lakmé, with her servant Malika, walk to the riverside, gathering flowers and preparing to bathe, and they sing this duet together. Hence, before the plot has even taken off, the unmistakable flower duet captures the attention of the audience with its delightfully charming melodies. While the two sing, a British soldier named Gerald looks on, falling in love with Lakmé. The opera follows Gerald and Lakmé as they fall in love in spite of her father's anger towards the British. Gerald is stationed to a faraway post, throwing Lakmé into despair, and before Gerald leaves, she takes a poisonous flower and eats it while the British soldier declares his love for her by drinking from a sacred spring. Lakmé dies in Gerald's arms, ending the opera in a decided tragedy. Please welcome Ellie Brown, who joins Leanna Crenshaw for the Delibes duet from Lakmé.
Thank you.
say one more time, thanks so much for joining us this evening for our concert. We've really enjoyed playing this program for you. And I also want to say thank you to Pine Ridge Presbyterian Church. They have been such a fantastic host with us for so many years. We love coming here and we love playing here. They make it very easy and to do so. So please join me in thanking our host. As many of you know, the Northland Symphony is a nonprofit organization, and as such, we rely heavily on donations from grants and foundations and individuals in order to do what we do and to fulfill our mission of providing these quality concerts to the community absolutely free of charge. As the pastor said, this is indeed my 25th season with this fine ensemble, and in those 25 years, I can tell you that our reliance on individual donations has steadily increased as the other areas of funding decrease. So if you're able to make a donation this evening, we would welcome that. A board member will help you with that in the back. Any amount impacts us and helps us. A $5 donation, a $10 donation, a $20,000 donation. All are welcome and all are helpful. And if you are able to do that, thank you so much. I know many of you in the audience today are donors and have donated already this year, and thank you for that donation. We appreciate all the support, both your presence here and financial, to allow us to keep doing our mission. Which is our goal and what we love to do. We're going to return to Barber of Seville for our final work. It seems to be a very fitting end to an evening of opera to do one of the most recognizable arias of all time. This is sung by Figaro, actually in his very first entrance on stage. He sings a piece proclaiming about how he is indeed the best barber Seville had ever seen, and what a nobler life no man can imagine. This boisterous aria provides the audience with a grasp of who Figaro is, a man who thinks himself talented in everything. Filled with Italian tongue twisters and exhaustingly fast passages of patter singing, this aria stands in a baritone's repertoire as one of the most fun and difficult to perform. Please welcome back Louis Tiemann.